I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been working toward that dream. That dream that you're holding in your mind, that it's possible.
Is it cause I see things differently? Picture things vividly. Bring it all to life through the words of my ministry. In high-def imagery, I'll put it more simply. Show myself approved since I read the book of Timothy. Then I got my study on, I had an epiphany. Israel is the chosen, some accuse us of bigotry. But I'm not ashamed, though they charge me of arrogance. The things that I say are far-fetched to Americans. Yahweh on high, I ask you in reverence. Please give us the heathen as our inheritance. Psalms 2 and 8, cause their payback is overdue. Words of the psalmist now a hip-hop foldable. Lies that they told you, poison like a cobra bite. Keep God's laws and they'll raise us up overnight. Read the scriptures daily, stay away from lust and greed. You can move a mountain with the faith of a mustard seed. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change. It was Abraham that fathered us. The plan was so marvelous. They stole our identity so they could be a part of us. Now they don't acknowledge us. You know it's real drastic when they say God is white and the nation's been grafted in. But I sit back and laugh at them. We changing our nation. The truth can't be hid. This is the age of information. So run tell your president, Congress, and senators. A real Benjamite, I ain't falling for that Kevin stuff. Fake Egyptology, no blood relation. The covenants are ours and not for no other nation. And we're his creation, so I'ma do the Father's will. Babylon is done worship the eagle on the dollar bill. An owl that they tried to hide can't fool me easily. Smile in my face, but plotting on me secretly. Read your scriptures daily, stay away from lust and greed. You can move a mountain with the faith of a mustard seed. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change.
Should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
This is a dedication to all my peoples in the struggle. Everybody in the struggle. As it is written, this is not our rest. So we just here trying to make it day to day, y'all.
Hymn for the warriors.
This cold life had no sympathy, streets had no empathy. Girl that I was chasing just wasn't that into me. I tried to be accepted, but the world was no friend to me. So I overcame and rose above it mentally. My people Satan's time's up. Don't depend on blind luck. Sad to say these churches got half our people mind fucked. That means in a trance, I'll tell you in advance. They hate our guts, but they praying on our ignorance. But the Father, he had bigger plans, another purpose. I speak, it makes him nervous, cause I'm killing all kind of lies, pain being dramatized. It's all about the dollars, so ignorance is monetized. And fools running fake streets, talking about fake beats. Every time I speak, it's classified as hate speech. Just my thought and words, the system isn't for us. You should think about it while I say the chorus. If you ever been broke and praying for a grand, so you try to make a way, but things don't go like you planned. Have you ever had a friend that wouldn't lend a hand? If you never had to struggle, you just won't understand why they hated you and degraded you. Dedicated to my peoples, cause we made it through. This is a
Hymn for the warriors.
Technology. Yeah, look, we who they idolize, we the Russian icons. Hey, we who they idolize, we the Asian icons. Hey, we who they idolize, the American icons. Hey, we who they idolize, the guys from Africa. All these lies are knackery, and we roll up like Lazarus. Okay, why they didn't burn them? Why they decided to keep them? Who done put it right in your face and you didn't believe them? Then you turn your face and act like you didn't see them. But it's black guys up in their churches and their museums. Stay black skies before and after the eclipse. Cause when I look up, it's black souls on the tree tips, cloudy with 100% chance of bleed drip on your T-flips with enough tears to sink ships. This life made the limp they stole. Another nation with a hit 'em with a 10x4. Us folded at the center is the centerfold. This is genocide at its highest pentacle. Like wow, we who they idolize, we the Russian icons. We who they idolize, we the Asian icons. We who they idolize, the American icons. We who they idolize, the guys from Africa. All these lies are knackery, and we roll like Lazarus. Real Jew took off for the third time, cause real Jews spin it like a turbine. In this world full of guys, I try to serve mine, but this road so narrow on hitting curb lines that disturb lines. Most talented, most controversial, like Kyrie Irvine. They got black faces with Jesus be. Don't that make us Jesus peeps? So when the people seek for Jesus' peace, look at your skin and seek beneath. We who they idolize, we the Russian icons. We who they idolize, we the Asian icons. We who they idolize, the American icons. We who they idolize, the guys from Africa. All these lies are knackery, and we roll like Lazarus.
Hold me with thy powerful hand.
They left me up in the trap, all they had was a key. But God is good, how he saved me from water that deep. I know the shepherd never strays too far from his sheep, no indeed. He may not come when you call him though, but he always on time like the morning show. That's why I praise him like I'm singing in the high note. And I give thanks, I'm the 12 that he died for. Rose from the valley full of dry bones. Now every day I'm fighting for the kingdom like John Jones. A lot of these rappers my clones like Tyrone. I know they praying on my downfall, but I won't. The guy don't fold under pressure when he get tried. They vilify my confidence, think it's in the pride, but they don't realize sacrifices I survived. Give the old man years ago, it was in my eyes.
Do you know just how good my God is? I'm so thankful, thank God I got this. He's so faithful, grateful that I'm his, and I promise that he is so good.
give my name respect, cause I'm still blessed. See the wrist, that's a plain protect. Every verse a dome shot, never aim at neck. When it's go time, I just do it, see my game in check. When was worried about a hater ever was an option. You 40 plus and still broke, you got bigger problems. I call it red, buying trippin', tell her pick an island. Put fringes on the Rick Owens, I be different styling. Never would've made it, now I'm situated. God's favorite, and that's word to the seed of Jacob. I overcame all my giants, you can see the David. He got me feeling like Zion, not the one to play with. All praises for the future, he forgave my past. Now I'm free at last, cover 2 like he played the past. Babylon gotta burn every blade of grass. Till he take toll in the kingdom, gotta pay the pass.
Do you know just how good my God is? I'm so thankful, thank God I got this. He's so faithful, grateful that I'm his. And I promise that he is so good. So
Yahweh, Hafapalau, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Brothers and sisters, giving all praise, honor, glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, the Supreme God of the universe, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. Welcome to another Sabbath class with the Lions of Israel. We appreciate you, brothers and sisters, that come week by week to our classes, and we're hoping that these lessons are edifying to you, brothers and sisters. So all praise to the Most High for that, for life and strength and health. And I'm hoping that my voice finds everybody with strength and in the best health you possibly could be. I want to give a shout out really quickly to everybody that's watching us on our YouTube platforms, which is the Lions of Israel class on YouTube, as well as Maccabees TV. Guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. It just takes a second. Go down, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel wherever you're watching it. And also make sure you guys click the notification bell so you guys are notified every time we upload a video on any of our platforms, okay? Of course, shout out to Messiah for allowing us to broadcast directly into people's homes. You know, shout out to that brother. He's always, you know, a resource in Israel, a brother that's very generous with his platform. It allows everybody to broadcast their teachings directly into people's homes. And I'm hoping, if it be the will of the Most High, that some people have actually seen this truth at home and have come to repentance via the vehicle of Messiah TV. So all praise to the Most High for that. All right. Last but not least, of course, I want to shout out to my family that's listening to us on Clubhouse. You guys know, as always, the link is provided at the top of the room. You guys can feel free to come over to YouTube. Today's lesson, I always give you guys on Clubhouse a scale of how important it is to actually be watching as opposed to listening to a lesson that I do. So on a scale of 1 to 10, today's lesson is a 20 in terms of watchability. So if you guys are listening on Clubhouse, you're free to listen if you're indisposed at this time, but I'm going to be playing a ton of videos today in this lesson, a ton of videos. So if it's at all possible, you can click the link at the top of the room. You guys can come over to YouTube and follow along with us. All right. So with that being said, I have a lot of slides to get through. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get through everything I have here, but I'm going to do my best to get through it. And I really do appreciate everybody's patience. The last couple of weeks, as far as me not doing lessons, I know I was getting a lot of people wondering what was going on. So everybody knows 2 weeks ago, we had the boat ride, which we'll talk about at the end of the class. So we didn't get a chance to do a lesson that week. And then last week, my computer completely conked out on me. It just stopped working. You know what I'm saying? Nothing I could do. So we are circumventing certain issues right now to get this lesson to you guys regardless, because I couldn't go a third week without teaching. So the Most High provided an avenue for me to still be able to teach you guys despite those issues that I was having. All right. So with that being said, before I get into today's lesson, I do see the Elder Zahab is on the stage. So Zahab, do you have anything that you wanted to say before we get started?
Nah, I just want to say shalom to the family. All praises to the Most High. All right. Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, right? But yeah, we back at it. All praise to the Most High, man. So let's get to it.
Okay. All right. And of course, Zahab, if you have anything that you wanted to say during the lesson, as you already know, you're welcome to definitely chime in. All right. So let's go ahead and let's get started. I'm going to share the screen. We're about to get this party started, right? Okay. So all right. So today's lesson, which is a lesson I promised you guys, maybe I want to say about 6 months ago, and I never did. But, the Bible says man's goings is of the Lord. How then can a man understand his ways? For some reason, I was supposed to do this lesson months ago, and I didn't, because I had did a lesson, I want to say, is it a year? Maybe not quite a year ago, called Winter is Coming, right? And it's basically lessons about prophecy and things that the Most High, through his prophets, said would happen as signs that we are approaching the end of time, as far as we know it, under Esau. And the follow-up lesson was supposed to be winter is already here, meaning a lot of the things that were prophesied by the prophets are literally happening in our midst, but we're being distracted by a lot of nonsense around us. But for some reason, I never got a chance to do that lesson. And so the Spirit brought it back full circle, where I'm doing the lesson now. And pretty much I completely trashed the original lesson that I had, because there are a lot of things that are happening right now in the present. So we want to deal in the present to show forth that winter that we spoke about is already here. Now, guys, you guys know that this is a play on a phrase that comes from the TV series Game of Thrones. For those of you guys that are listening, outside of the children, it's very few people that haven't at least heard of Game of Thrones. Most people have watched a few episodes, but very few people haven't heard of it. And I'm saying this is just a subjective opinion, my own opinion. This is definitely top 10 greatest series to ever air on television, period.
I don't know, priest.
That's why I said it's subjective. So I said it's subjective. It's definitely up there. Now, I don't know if you've actually watched it through, bro. So
hey, priest, I try to watch it. I don't know if people out there could chime in with me. I try to watch it, brother, but my spirit won't let me get into it, man. It's a bunch of Edomites running around, swinging swords, killing one another, backstabbing. I mean, I get it. Some of the things we could like learn from it, like winter's coming and how to move like strategically, but I'm sorry, man, my spirit couldn't blend with it. That's just me, please.
Everything is not for everyone. Elder, that's why I'm here, man. I'm gonna just give it to you in bite-sized pieces since it wasn't for your spirit. But the show is actually good, and there's a lot of as in most shows, right? Because we know Hollywood runs off a script, and the script goes back to scriptures. I think we all know these things. So they definitely put a lot of information in here and mask it in terms of entertainment. But there's definitely things that you can kind of take away. But the main takeaway I took away from this is just a play on the title. And it's very, very interesting. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as I told you guys, the title was inspired by Game of Thrones. So what I'm going to do is I played this before in the lesson that I did the first time when Winter is Here. I'm going to play it again because this was kind of the inspiration for me to name the show what I named it or the class what I named it today. So let's take a look at the phrase being said throughout the original series.
Winter is coming. Might just be the cold.
Winter is coming.
It's cold outside. You don't know cold. Winter is coming for him. It's either me or this cold. It doesn't appear to be going anywhere.
And winter is coming.
You look cold, boys. She's a bit nippy. Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
That's cold. Winter is coming.
Mm-hmm. I'm cold. It's cold and it's wet.
Winter is coming.
You're crying because you're cold. You're a long way from home. Winter is coming.
I imagine you might be rather cold.
And winter is coming.
Oh, that's all right. I'm fine. You're not. You're freezing.
So again, those are just some scenes from the original series. Right now, as we're speaking, the prequel is airing on HBO, which is called The House of the Dragons. But basically, the idea around the series is the 7 or 8 seasons of Game of Thrones? I forget how many seasons there was. All was a culmination of different kingdoms that were at war with each other to sit on the Iron Throne. The Iron Throne is the person that rules over the 7 kingdoms. They rule over all the other kingdoms. You sit on the Iron Throne, you rule everybody else. You become proverbially the king of what? Of kings. That's what the show is about. And winter represents the culmination or the ultimate war, the ultimate showdown that was going to come to decide who would sit on the Iron Throne and be king of kings. Does everybody understand? That's where the inspiration for today's lesson comes from. There are some things that are happening that show us that winter is coming, meaning what? There's going to be a great war that's about to be fought. And the victor of this war is going to sit and be king of kings, which is Yahweh Shai. Does everybody understand that? That's where the inspiration comes from. So we have to see the signs as they're happening around us to understand we are already in the midst of the signs that the Most High told us we would see to know that we're heading towards that culmination of events. All right, let's move on. So that idea of Game of Thrones and the whole phrase of winter is coming actually has biblical implications, right? Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, when he was speaking to the people concerning the invasion of Rome, when the Roman Empire would come and invade and surround and ultimately overthrow us, Yahweh Shai made a very, very important statement that we're about to read. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24. We're going to start from verse number 14. It says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." So we know in the apostolic age, talking about the time of Christ, and ultimately the 12 apostles and Paul and the early church fathers, they did not preach this gospel in all nations. Israel had been scattered into all nations, but when Christ was on the scene, Yahushua, his ministry was very localized. After Yahushua, you had the 12. Their ministry was a little bit more spread out, but it was still basically localized. And then the Most High had it where the Apostle Paul came into the scene, and Paul's ministry was more widespread throughout Asia Minor, but not throughout the whole world. So there are certain things or certain portions of prophecy that are relevant to that time, the apostolic age in the first century, and there are also portions of the same prophecy that's relevant to us today. Today, we can see the gospel being taught as a witness unto all nations, right? You have literally Israelites in tons of countries, hundreds of countries, waking up. Whether it's somebody actually physically going into those areas and teaching, or whether it's somebody waking up via the internet. If you have a YouTube page and you go back into your YouTube studios, there's a lot of different tools that they have in the background there that you can check. And one of the tools will literally show you a map of the world, and it'll have little dots on the map. And the map will show you where people are watching you all around the world. And if you go and you look at that, you're going to see that people are watching you in Japan, in India, in China, in the Middle East, in Africa, South America, places that many of us have never been and probably never will go. So while Matthew 24 does have first century implications, some of those things were literally going on at that time, there's also end time implications for the same chapter as well. I need everybody to understand that. All right, so let's read it again. Matthew 24, verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall come. So for many years, when we were raised as Christians, we were taught to look at a calendar. That's why they had that whole confusion about the year 2000. Then you had the year 2012. Then you had the year 2020, and all these failed false prophecies, because Christ never told us, Yahushua never told us that we should be looking at a calendar, especially of all calendars, the Gregorian calendar, which is the newest calendar that we go by, but there was calendars before that. So it's not about a calendar. We're looking for signs, events that take place to let us know that the end is near, that winter is here. That's what we're looking for, not a calendar. Verse 15. And when he shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. So Yahushua is saying, when you begin to start seeing these things that Daniel the prophet spoke about, the abomination of desolation, which goes on to many levels, right? We know the Maccabees actually set up abominations in our temple, going back to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1. But in Yahushua's times, the Romans, going all the way back to Pompeii, got a hold of our temple, and these guys were desecrating our temple during the time of the Romans as well. They were doing these things. So Yahushua said, this is a sign. When you see these things start to happen, you should flee, because judgment is about to come. The book of Luke says the days of vengeance are here. The Most High was going to begin to take vengeance against Israel for what we had done. So Yahushua said, when you see these things, you should flee. Verse 17, let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, women with infant children. Right? But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter. What did Yahushua say? I'm going to read it again. But pray ye that your flight be not in winter. Right? Going back to verse 16. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. When you see the Romans come and besiege Jerusalem, you're supposed to flee because the Most High is going to take vengeance. When you come down to verse 20, Yahushua said, but I'm going to tell you what, when the Most High takes this vengeance, you better pray it's not in winter. Why? Because winter is the worst time to go to war. It's the worst time to be besieged. It's the worst time to have to flee. It makes a bad situation worse. So Yahushua said, you better pray that it don't happen then. It's going to happen, but you better pray it doesn't happen then. Winter represents the worst time for pestilences, diseases, wars, refugees having to flee, so forth and so on. It represents the worst time, right? That's why the Game of Thrones took that analogy. The winter coming is a culmination of events that was going to happen that would lead you. So it's just an analogy. It's a metaphor, for lack of a better word, of a great war that was coming, but there was going to be a culmination of things that would happen, which is the 8 seasons of the show that would lead up to that great event. And that's why I named the class what I named it, because winter was coming, but winter is actually already here. These events are already happening in the earth, and many of our people can't see it. They can't see it. Why is winter such a bad time for things to happen? So I'm going to play you guys a video real quick. Check it out.
Historically, wars are rarely fought in winter, as lots of times things tend to go wrong. For instance, in 1939, the much larger Red Army failed to conquer the entire Finland as the Soviets lost upwards of 200,000 soldiers as opposed to only 25,000 for the Finns. Similarly, when Germans tried to reach Moscow during the 1941-42 winter, it proved unattainable because Germans were in their summer uniforms. Defensive positions during winter months are highly advantageous. Moreover, asymmetric warfare strategies, like small units compromising supply lines of the enemy's army, are key, because without supplies, your biggest enemy is the cold itself. But worse than the cold is what comes next, the thaw, when snow melts. The muddy conditions not only impair mobility, but the ice melting significantly complicates crossing bodies of water. But even worse is the...
I want you guys to think about, I'm going to go back a little bit, I want you guys to think why Yahushua told them what he told them. Like, you better pray. What were they supposed to do? Going back to verse 16, they were supposed to flee. The reason why Yahushua says in verse 20, you better hope it's not in winter, is for all these same reasons, because it's going to make a situation that's bad even worse, especially in verse 19, women that have children. You got a newborn, you know what I'm saying, baby, or a 6-month-old, or for the old people, or for the lame, or for the impaired. It makes it difficult. Got it? Let's go.
Without supplies, your biggest enemy is the cold itself. But worse than the cold is what comes next, the thaw, when snow melts. The muddy conditions not only impair mobility, but the ice melting significantly complicates crossing bodies of water. But even worse is the increased risk of developing trench foot in damp and cold conditions, which can cause soldiers' feet to decay.
So that's one of the reasons why Yahushua said what he said. Winter is the worst time for things to happen. It's the worst time for things to happen. All right, let's move on. So when did the fall of Jerusalem actually happen? Well, the Most High had some mercy on us, even though he allowed the Romans to overtake us. We could see here from the Encyclopedia Britannica that in April 70 CE, or April 70 AD, about the time of the Passover, that's when the Roman general Titus besieged Jerusalem, right? And jumping down to the second paragraph, just for the sake of time. And by the way, April, of course, we know that's the springtime. That's the new year, according to the Bible. And when we jump down here to the second paragraph, in August of 70 AD, 70 CE, is when the Romans had breached the final defenses and massacred much of the remaining population, and they also destroyed the Second Temple. The culmination of this began in April, which is the spring, and ultimately ended in August. Now, for those that know history, the Romans really began besieging Jerusalem about 65, 66 AD, actually. But this is the culmination of it in 70 AD, and the Most High had it happen sometime between the spring and the summer, but not in winter. Yahushua told Israel to at least pray for that. You're going to get, the Most High is going to take vengeance on you, but you better pray that it's not in the winter, because that's just going to make your situation that much worse. All right? Okay, let's move on. So Now we're going to talk about quote unquote conspiracy theories, right? So what happens is when you start telling people about certain things that are going to happen prophetically, as well as certain things that we can actually see clearly in the world, people will call you a conspiracy theorist. They'll call you crazy. That's just a shaming tactic, brothers and sisters. Don't be swayed by that, right? Most people, I'm not going to read all that stuff in yellow right now for the sake of time, but most people desire acceptance in the world. That's what they desire. So a lot of times, a lot of people may think things, they may see certain things, but they don't really say them out loud because they don't want people to think that they're crazy. They don't want to be shamed. They don't want to be mocked. They don't want to be laughed at. But we can't be that way. We have to tell people the truth. We don't care about belonging to any cliques. We don't care about being accepted by the world. Our job is to tell people exactly what's going to happen, whether they believe it or not. And when you go back and you read in the Bible about the prophets, most of the prophets were not believed, and most of the prophets were not beloved in their lifetime. It is only after they're dead and gone and their prophecies actually happen that they're loved. Like when we read in the New Testament about the Israelites loving Jeremiah, we read about that. When you go back to read the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah in his days, Israel didn't love him. As a matter of fact, in Jeremiah's days, Jeremiah was put in prison by Israelites, put him in prison because they didn't like what he was prophesying. But the words of his prophecy that the Most High gave him came true. And when he would say these things, Israel didn't believe him. They would shame him. You can read about that in Jeremiah chapter 18. They would shame him. But that didn't stop him from saying what was going to happen. And it shouldn't stop or deter us either. Does everybody understand that? Because these things are going to happen. They're already happening. That's why the lesson is called Winter is already here. These things are already happening. But there are so many distractions that's being thrown people's ways that if you're not spiritual, if you're not in tune, you're not going to be able to see that these things are already happening. It's no longer conspiracy. It's happening. Let's move on. Now, I've gone over this before. I'm going to go over it again. This is especially important for teachers and just in general brothers or sisters that are in the truth and strive to understand truth, to know truth. And you want to know exactly what's going on in the world for real. I always tell people you have to become aware of and you have to immerse yourself in alternative news sources, alternative press sources. If you're watching CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, MSNBC, or CNN, you don't know what's happening in the world because that news is highly censored. They show you what they want you to be focused on. Meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of other things that's going on in the world that they're not showing you. And these things that are going on in the world are showing us where we are on the timeline of prophecy. So I have on my screen a couple of shots of some alternative news sources that if you guys, and I think most people listening to me have accounts on YouTube, you should actually be going to YouTube and typing in some of these channels and subscribing so it comes up on your feed when you're scrolling through YouTube, and not all of your feed is damn ratchet twerking videos and all types of other crap that people be watching, but actual stuff that's happening for real. These are some of the news sources that you guys should be plugged into, right? You guys can take a screenshot of this. You guys can come back to the video later and look at it. You know, you have Al Jazeera English. I have that up here. You have BBC America. You have Press for Truth. You have Press TV and a bunch of others. Now, what I will say is there are a few, and I pretty much took these images from Google Images. There are a few quote unquote alternatives news sites here that are trash, like the Young Turks. The Young Turks is trash. I'm just gonna say that. That's trash, and it's compromised too. Democracy Now! Is trash and compromised too. Russia Today is good, right? And there are a few other ones that are good here as well. So just immerse yourself in some of these. Subscribe to some of these channels on YouTube, or if you have a TikTok, subscribe to some of these channels on TikTok, and educate yourself so you can see what's actually happening in the world. Because what happens is all of our algorithms, especially TikTok, I've noticed this. I wasn't really a big TikTok person for a while, but I've been immersing myself in it lately. And I noticed all it takes on TikTok is for me to watch one video, possibly two, on any subject. And as soon as I refresh to my homepage, the next 5 or 6 videos that's recommended in my algorithm is going to be the same thing I just watched. And I notice it switches every time I watch something else and I refresh, the next 5 or 6 videos is on what I just watched. That's the way my algorithm works. Maybe you guys is different. I don't know. All right. So you want to make sure that you're looking at stuff like this so your algorithm is constantly feeding you information as what's going on and not the distraction and the BS arguments and the BS trends that go on TikTok that have nothing to do with nothing. All right. And if anybody's watching this later on after I'm done with this live, if there are any other alternative news channels that you guys are aware of, you guys could put it in the comments if you're watching this video after the live is done. So, anybody coming back and looking at the comments can find out other channels. There are a ton. Sometimes there's so many I forget, but I know I subscribe to a lot of them on my YouTube. So as I'm scrolling on YouTube, I will get recommendations from these channels that I subscribe to, and I watch them. All right, so let's move on. So social media has also surpassed mainstream media as a source of news as well, which can be good and it can be bad. A lot of people aren't getting their information from mainstream news organizations anymore because most people now know that mainstream news organizations are compromised. They're not going to show you what's really happening in the world. And the reason why I'm stressing on this is because those of us that are in this truth, especially those brothers that teach, you need to be in tune with what's going on in the world. That's how you show our people the Bible. You have to be able to put it in a way where they can receive it, it's palatable to them, and they can understand it. Like, the Bible's not a mystery. Look what was written 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and here it is on your news today. You have to be able to marry the two. So that way the elect, everybody's not going to get it, but that way those that are of the elect will be able to see the correlation, and if it be the Most High's will, come into the truth. Let's watch this real quick.
More Americans say they're turning to social media for news, according to a Pew Research survey. Jump was especially large among older users and non-white adults. In all, 2 out of 3 Americans say they get at least some of their news from social media.
Did y'all catch that? Y'all didn't catch that. I'm going to run it back because only a couple of seconds. I'm going to run it back. Y'all did not catch that. Let's listen again.
More Americans say they're turning to social media for news, according to a Pew Research survey. Jump was especially large among older users and non-white adults.
There was. The jump to getting news from alternative news sites, especially social media, is non-white people. I'm just going to talk about it. That's us. Forget about the other people. That's us. Most of us are getting our news and our information from social media. There's a lot of false information on social media, but there's also a lot of good information on social media. It really will depend on your algorithm, what you're looking at. What you're looking at is what these social media platforms is going to feed you a whole bunch of. So if you like gossip and entertainment and you don't watch 10 videos on TikTok this week because, that devil that they call Sexy Red, she just came out with a whole new lip gloss line with a whole bunch of abominable names for her lip gloss. If you watch one video on TikTok about that, the next 10 videos they're going to recommend is about that. And that's going to be your news. And you're going to think that's what's going on in the world. But that's not what's going on in the world. So you have to feed your algorithm certain things by searching for certain things, subscribing and following certain pages so that way you get that. Does everybody understand? That's how it works.
More Americans say they're turning to social media for news, according to a Pew Research survey. Jump was especially large among older users and non-white adults. In all, 2 out of 3 Americans say they get at least some of their news from social media. The dominant source is Facebook. Number 2, YouTube, which is kind of interesting. People don't think of that as a news source.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
More.
All right. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring out that, we the light of the world, right? We the light to the Gentiles and we the salt of the earth. I noticed that whatever we do, like the other nations follow us. So I think it's kind of skewed. Like, you see, we the ones who really proliferate and push social media so much. So if we pushing something or we really vibe with an app or something, then here comes the other nations. So I think it's kind of skewed because if perfect example, what app was it? I think it was Clubhouse or something like that. That we was the ones who was really pushing it, right?
Yeah.
And we was the ones who was dealing with certain things, and they had to tailor made it and go in the back end and change it around to suit us because we was the ones who was really pushing it. I say that to say this: dealing with information, it's the same thing too. We the ones that really out there so much that's looking for certain information, whether it be good or bad. And Esau just run their algorithms and just make it tailor made to see, okay, how can we profit off these people? Because we the ones that push the needle, we the ones that set the trends, we the ones that everything we do, they want to do. Now you got Esau kids talking like us. We the ones that saying, yo, bro, you doing too much and this, that, the third, little slangs and this. You on TikTok, you see a whole bunch of white people talk. I'm like, hold on. Is they trying to be like us or what's going on here? So I just want to bring that out, man. We the ones that setting the trends on all these social media platforms for good and for bad.
That's right. We the salt of the earth. That's what it is. We got the flavor, and all nations know it, which is why they hate us. Right. So the Most High tells us things before they happen. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, starting from verse number 8. It says, "I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things are come to pass." So the things that were prophesied by prophets before Isaiah took place. "And new things do I declare." So the Most High declared new things to Isaiah, things that had not taken place yet. The Lord said, "Before they spring forth, I tell you of them." So the Most High showed Isaiah through his prophecy certain things that were going to take place in the future. The Bible shows you these things. So this is what we should be looking for to understand where we are in terms of prophecy. Going 4 chapters later to Isaiah chapter 46, starting from verse 9. "Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is none else. I am God, Yahweh, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning." So the end of things and how things are going to ultimately shape up, the Most High declared those things from the beginning, and the Most High also declared those things to prophets that have been before us. The outcome is already decided. The Most High declared the end from the beginning. He told you exactly what was going to happen. So if you want to know what's going to happen, if anybody wants to know what's going to happen, all they have to do is look at what the Most High said was going to happen, because it's already been decided. "And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand," meaning what the Most High said is going to happen is going to happen. "And I will do all my pleasure." The Most High is going to make things happen the way he wants them to happen, because it is at his pleasure. This is the way the Most High wants things to go down. So the things that we are seeing and the things that we are going to see in the future, the Most High wants things to play out the way they're going to play out. We may not understand it. We may not even like it. As we read the prophecies and we go through certain things, we have to understand, we as Israelites, we're going to be in the midst of a lot. Those of us that are alive and remain, when the world is going through its tribulation and these things, these prophecies start taking place, some of those things, we're going to be amongst those things as well, because we are here. Ain't nobody looking forward to that, right? But it's the Most High's pleasure. It's a process of refinement and many other reasons in the Most High's infinite wisdom why the Most High is having things play out the way that they play out. It's going to play out that way. So we have to accept it, and we have to build ourselves up spiritually and mentally to go through it, because it's going to happen, because it's the Most High's will. All right, let's move on. Now, if your eyes are open, you can clearly see what's about to happen. But some people think it's just these black Israelites that are just saying these things, and we're just crazy. But no, it's not just us. Like, even people of other nations can clearly see the proverbial handwriting is on the wall. Listen.
Let me tell you guys something with absolute certainty. The U.S. empire is crumbling from within. people act like the last empire that fell was 1,000 years ago. No, it wasn't. It was Soviet Union just 33 years ago. And before that, it was a British Empire that fell some 60 years ago. The downfall of the U.S. is very near. And when the U.S. empire crumbles, falls, Israel is going to go with it. And they have played a crucial role in bringing down the U.S. To celebrate that.
I want you guys to understand what he just said. And I don't know if he's a Bible believer or not. That's not even relevant. But what he said is in the Bible. And if you have two eyes and you're not easily influenced and seduced by media and social media, it's evident. The U.S. is finished. It's done. It's a wrap. Well, in Hollywood, they've been telling you this for decades. For the better side of 50 plus years, they've been putting this in movies. You guys have probably seen this, but there may be somebody who never saw this before. Going all the way back to when they were making those videos, those movies in the 60s and the 70s, the original series called Planet of the Apes. Right? So I'm going to play you guys this video that many of you have already seen, but some of you have not. Going all the way back. And by the way, guys, this is Charlton Heston, the same devil that played Moses in the movie The Ten Commandments, is also the lead actor in the movie Planet of the Apes. And I want to show you guys what they see as the end, because they know their end. Check it out.
I'm home. All the time. Finally, really did it. You maniac! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Now, what do you guys think that represents? That represents the fall of America. They've been showing you this in movies since the 60s. Esau knows. They know, man. They understand. They understand certain things. They may not understand it the way we understand it, the spiritual aspects of the Bible, but the prophecies, they know. They know. They've been showing you this for years. Let's go.
Let me tell you guys something with that.
Okay. I want you guys to know to be in the truth is a privilege. And we all, including myself, starting with myself, need to act like being in this truth is a privilege. This is the book of Matthew chapter 13, starting from verse 15. It says, "For this people's heart is wax gross." That's us, our people. "And their ears are dull of hearing." They hear us, but they ain't trying to hear us. They can't hear us. "And their eyes, they have closed." Yeah, their eyes are open. You ever seen a person that's their eyes open, but they're sleeping? I forget what they call that. But there's something where people can actually have their eyes open and they're fast asleep. That's our people. Lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But this is what Yahushua told the apostles and those that come after, which is us. But blessed are your eyes, for you see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. It is a privilege to be in this truth and to know what it is that we know. It is also true, the Most High told Ezekiel, that this truth that we are able to see, and this truth that we are able to know, Most High also said it will be sweet in the mouth and bitter in the stomach, meaning it's bitter to know this truth. This truth is bitter. Because we know a lot of our people aren't going to wake up, including people that we love, family members, friends, children, spouses, you name it. They're not going to wake up, some of them. Many of them are going to be destroyed. And even us ourselves that are in this truth are going to go through tribulations too. So it's bitter. But it's sweet because we know the ultimate outcome is our kingdom is going to be restored. Our king, Yahushua, is going to rule. And the elect are going to be joint heirs and rule with him over these other nations. And they're going to be paid back for what they did. That's the sweet part. So it's bittersweet. But at least we know what's going to happen. The majority of our people that don't know what's coming, when things start happening that are going to happen, they're going to bug out. We're not going to bug out because we already know. They're going to bug out. Let's move on. Okay, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9. We're going to start from verse number 1. It says, he answered me then, said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. Now, I've gone over this before, but I'm going to bring it back again in case somebody is new. How do you measure the time? How you don't measure the time is with a calendar. So when the Lord told Ezra to measure the time, how do you measure the time? So what I showed you guys, and I've been teaching for many years, you measure the time with the Bible. Your Bible is called a canon. The compilation of books that we call the Bible today is called a canon. You guys can see that, those of you that are on YouTube. If you guys are on Clubhouse and you want to see this, I told you guys this lesson is very visual. You guys click the link at the top of the room. So your compilation of books of the Bible are called a canon. That word canon literally means to measure. It's a measuring rod. That's what it is. So when the Most High is telling Ezra, which is now passed down to us today, that we should measure the time, how do we measure the time? We measure the time through the canon, through the Bible. We read what the Bible says, and then we look and we see what's going on in the world around us, and we are able to measure the time and see where we are. How close are we to the culmination of events? Everybody got it? Let's go to the next slide. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, by the way. And so I also went to Bible Hub, and I showed you guys the same thing. Canon is what? A measuring standard. So now we understand why this language is being used in 2nd Ezra chapter 9. We also see the same language in Revelation chapter 11, where it says John was given a reed like a rod and told to what? Rise and measure the temple of God. Who's the temple of God? The people. Paul said, we're God's temple. We're the temple. So you measure yourself against the scriptures to see if you measure up to the standard, which is Yahushua, because that's our goal. All of us are trying to measure up to the standard, that perfect standard that Yahushua set for us, his example. So we measure ourselves against that. Got it? And when we go out in the streets and teach, we measure our people against that. And we know our people don't measure up, which is why we rebuke them in hopes that they repent and begin to start to try to measure up to the example of Yahushua. And in the same token, we also measure time through the canon of the Bible as well. Right? So I think everybody has it. So no need to prolong that. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the earth which he made. So how do we know that winter is already here? Why? Because we are seeing some of the signs of it. So we know Yahushua is soon come. We know that. Verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, which we're going to get into later, and uproars of the people, which we're going to get into later. All this is written in Matthew 24 as well, which we're going to get into. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. That's the same thing Isaiah said, right? The Most High spoke about certain things from the beginning. So the Bible is matching up with itself. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. So we should be looking for signs of the end, which Yahushua is going to give us those signs. We just read some of them in verse number 3. But Yahushua is going to give us more. So we should be looking for these signs, and that's how we know that we are heading towards the end. Verse 7. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith. So you have to have works and you have to have faith. Is that not the same thing that James said in the book of James, I believe, chapter 2? It's the same thing. Whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils. I want everybody to understand this. I want to take a moment to really let this seep into people's minds and your consciousness. We have to talk about what's going to happen. I know sometimes it comes across as doom and gloom, but damn it, things are going to get gloomy and things are going to be real bad. The Bible says that. So before we get into what's going to happen, the doom and the gloom, I'm giving you guys hope first. Verse 7 again, and everyone that shall be saved. So there are some people that are going to be saved from what's going to happen and shall be able to escape. Here's how you're going to do it. Works and faith whereby ye have believed. That's how you're going to escape. So somebody is going to escape. People are going to escape this. Not everybody, but people are going to escape this. Verse 8, shall be preserved from these said perils. What perils? The ones that are written in verse number 3 and the ones we're going to read in Matthew 24. And shall see my salvation. There's going to be some people that's going to actually live to see the second coming of Yahushua in my land and within my borders. For I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. The Most High's elect were already set aside and sanctified from the foundation of the world. All we're doing is playing out our roles in this. And in the end, when Yahushua comes, it's going to be manifest those that were sanctified from the beginning. There's no coincidence in any of this. You might wonder why you have an unction to do the Most High's will, why you have an unction to do things pertaining to the Most High as far as teaching and doing classes. I can't explain to myself why do I have 400 PowerPoints? For what? Do you guys know how much time it takes? I don't have a good reason within myself why I'm compelled to do that. I don't have a good reason why I'm compelled to be in this truth for 30 plus years when I done seen so much stuff happen in this truth, so much chaos, so much turmoil, and I still stick with it. I still have a passion to teach. I still have a passion to go and teach in the streets. I can't explain it. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be one of the ones that saved, because you have to endure to the end to be saved. But what I'm showing y'all is you can't really explain why you have that, but there are people that were sanctified from the beginning, and the Most High is with them and guides them. And you don't understand. The Bible says man's goings is of the Lord. How can a man understand his ways? You don't know why you do what you do, but you just do it. It's just in you to do it. Everybody got it, and sisters as well, in your roles. Especially in this world where this is pretty much a woman's world right now. You sisters could be doing a whole lot of other things in this world, but you choose to be righteous. You choose not to be like the women of the world, and you sacrifice a lot of things, and you don't get a lot of things, especially financially, or whatever that these women out here that are wicked get. And you don't know why. You just don't have a desire to do it. You don't have a desire to be like the women of the world. You don't relate to them. You don't want to even be around them. You nothing. And you can't understand why. You never fit in. Because you may be of the elect that's going to be saved. You don't have a good reason why you feel that way, but you just do. Understand that. So that's the hope. We have to continue on that path. And if you continue on that path, you will be saved if it be the will of the Most High. You'll endure. All right? Okay, let's move on. So now we're going to go to Matthew chapter 24. And we're going to start from verse number 1. It says, and Yahushua, Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus, Yahushua, said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you that there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So the same thing that we read in 2nd Ezra chapter 9. The ending in effects and signs, right? It's the same thing we're reading here in Matthew 24. What is going to be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? What signs are going to point to the fact that you're going to make your second coming that you spoke, your triumphant second coming that you were always talking about, and of the end of the world? So let's start off by saying this. When it speaks about the end of the world, it's not talking about the end of the planet Earth. When I was growing up as a child in a Christian denomination that my parents were, which was the Pentecostal Apostolic Oneness Christian branch, Christian denomination, I believe the church that I was in as a child was a part of a organization called Pentecostal Assemblies of the World. It's PAW, Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, as a child. And in the church I grew up in, they took this literal that the earth was going to be completely destroyed because they don't understand scripture. So when we look at the end of the world, so we go and we look at that in the Greek, because the English Bible was translated from the Greek. So we look at that word world. It's the Greek word aeon. Aeon. When you look at that word aeon, it says properly an age. So it's not the end of the literal planet Earth, but it's the end of an age on the planet Earth. We're about to find out what age is about to come to an end, because that's what the disciples were asking Yahushua. Now, in fairness, especially for you brothers that teach, if you look at the way that the Strong's has it set up, the first definition is forever. The second definition they give is for worlds and universe. And the third definition they give is a period or age of time. So now if you want to know, okay, now I'm confused. I'm not sure if it's literally talking about the world that we live on, the earth, or if it's talking about an age of time. How do we know which one is right? Well, first of all, I'm telling you guys which one is right. It's talking about an age. The other two definitions are frivolous. It's literally talking about an age. Well, you might say to yourself, so how does he know that? How does he know that? Because the Bible must harmonize with itself. It must harmonize with itself. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1. Starting from verse 1, it says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? Here it comes. One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. But the earth abideth forever. So if we were to go back, that means that this definition right here, number 1, and this definition right here, number 2, are wrong. They're wrong. By the way, and this is really like an aside, the way the Strong's was put together, Strong's was really just a numbering system. A lot of the definitions in Strong's and everything are not necessarily always right. That's why you have to do research. So it gives you 3 definitions, but only one definition actually harmonizes with the rest of the Bible. And that is definition number 3, which is an age. Why? Because the earth is never going to be destroyed because it's going to abide forever, according to the same Bible. Has everybody got that? That's how we know. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 5, starting from verse 9. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. And you guys, if you've been following me for a while, this word redeemed is a key word to show you that this is talking about Israel. But that's for another time. If you're new here, that's for another time. So the Most High is going to redeem Israel out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, because that's where Israel was scattered. Reading verse 10. And has made us unto our God kings and priests. Here it comes. And we shall reign on earth. So where's this kingdom going to be? On the earth. That's how we know the proper definition of the word aeon is an age. We're coming to the end of an age. That's what the disciples were asking Christ. When is this age that we live in right now going to end? What are the signs of that? What age were they asking when it was going to end? The age of the rulership of Esau. This is 2 Ezra chapter 6, starting from verse number 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world. Same verbiage as in Matthew chapter 24. Esau is the end of the world, meaning the end of the age of the rulership of Esau and the other nations. It's over for them. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So that's what the apostles were asking Christ. When is this age of Esau ruling up over us going to end? It's not talking about the literal earth, because the Bible tells us the earth is going to be here forever. All right, everybody's cool? All right, let's move on. Matthew chapter 24, verse 4. Now Yahushua is going to give him some signs. More than what we got from Esdras in 2 Ezra chapter 9. And Yahushua Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. So one of the main signs of the end was there was going to be a lot of people that would rise up that would be deceivers. And there would also be people that would be deceived in mass. It's the book of John, 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. So John warns us that there's going to be false prophets that's going to go out into the world. So you guys have to try spirits and not be deceived. And when I say spirits, I mean every spirit, including Israelite spirits, including my spirit. And one of the ways that I try to show people that what I'm teaching is genuine and sincere, and it is the truth, is because I do it in PowerPoint so you guys can see it. That I'm not just sitting here just talking the talk, you guys can see it. And you can try it for yourself. If it's the truth, you can see it with your own eyes. Because there's a lot of people that say things and don't demonstrate it, but because they are loquacious, that means well-spoken, guys, by the way. That's not a regular Negro word. Because they're well-spoken and articulate, and they have a certain look about them. A lot of our people are deceived by that. Yeah, I wish I said don't be deceived by that. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14. It says that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men. Sleight is trickery. That's like magicians, magic, right? And cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. So the Apostle Paul tells the church at Ephesus not to be deceived, which they allowed themselves to be. When you read Ephesians chapter 2, really chapters 1 and chapter 2, they allowed themselves to be deceived, like the Galatians did as well. Galatians chapter 3, what does it says? O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you? Deceiving and bewitching is pretty much the same thing. So we already see those things happening not too long after Christ was crucified in the churches that Paul set up and that John set up. They were allowing themselves to be deceived. And we see it today as well. How many, I know I'm deviating, how many times have I seen on social media people that are Israelites or former Israelites that come into the truth? They'll tell you up and down that they have all this street smarts. When they were in the world, they were in the streets and they're this and they were that, which I don't be believing. Why do I say that? Because how is it that you had all these street smarts and you come into the truth and you're gullible? Like, who told you to turn off your senses because you came into the truth? Your senses are supposed to be heightened when you come into the truth. So you're supposed to be able to spot something fake immediately, especially if you was that way in the world already. And they come in and they see the first camp that they see that might wear some nice garments, might speak real mighty. They don't really investigate. They just join because that look good. And then they get in there and they get offended or something happens. They see things and they fall out. And now this is not the truth anymore. That's on you. You're going to be judged for that. The Bible tells you not to be deceived. John told you should what? Try the spirit. What does that mean? That means before you join a camp or a congregation, shouldn't you go to a holy day and see how they act amongst themselves? Shouldn't you congregate with them at least once? Shouldn't you take like 6 months and prove them and try them and see? Don't that make sense? Of course it makes sense because the Bible says that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to try them. A lot of Israelites don't do that. And then you leave that camp and you want to come over here. Like, oh, I should have came over. No, you shouldn't. You can't come over here. Because you was over there. Just watch the videos and stay in the truth, man. And that's it. Because I don't know what you did over there. I don't know what you might have caused, why you had to split off from them. You could have been the devil. I don't know. So I say to people all the time, to be on the safe side, you try the spirits. When people join our camp, it's a 6-month period. We don't recruit. We don't have pom-poms out there. We don't send out recruitment letters or nothing. Those people that come to us and say they want to join the camp, we tell them to try us. We're going to try you for 6 months, and you try us and see. Let's move on. This is the book of Acts chapter 20, verse 28 through 30. It says, "Take heed, therefore, unto yourselves and to all the flock over which the Holy Spirit have made you overseers." This is talking to the leaders, the teachers, to feed the church of God, which he hath purchased with his own blood. For I know this, that after my departing, shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. That's these deceivers that Matthew's talking about. Yahushua is talking about in the book of Matthew. Also of your own selves shall men arise, meaning amongst you, amongst the men that the apostles set up. There were men that they set up that turned out to be the devil too. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. Perverse things meaning things that sound true but are a lie. But the way the person speaks sounds like it's true. So Yahushua told us we're going to see these things in the last days. I've been in this truth, like I tell you guys, for 30 plus years. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. People just rising up. They start off good, right? But then after a while, you check somebody out, then doctrines start coming. And I've seen it over and over again. And people get seduced by it. Anyway, not to prolong that because there's a lot to get through. Let's move on. Verse 5. It says, for many shall come in my name, saying I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That word Christ goes back to the Greek word Christos. It just means anointed. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, the Christian church. The Christian church is the biggest deceivers when it comes to the Bible on earth. Because most of their ministries, especially the bigger, larger ministries, are all centered around money, which is why a lot of times they don't rebuke sin. They don't rebuke sin. They allow our people to be in the midst of sin, like the Michael Tolls of the world, which has all types of just degeneracy going on in this church. But he allows it. Why? Because the people pay him a lot of money. They give a lot of donations to his church. They pay a lot of tithes. So he turns the other cheek and doesn't watch or doesn't prophesy against that stuff. And a lot of people are deceived by it. You know, we see him on television. We see Creflo Dollar and TD Jakes on television. So surely these must be the men of God because they're on television, for God's sakes. So people become deceived by that. And they say a lot of things that are, they have some truth to it. And they actually do open the Bible. So that can be deceptive to people that don't know the Bible. He does have the Bible open. So he must be really, teaching the Bible. No. They're cherry picking certain things. But other things they're leaving out, they don't want to say because they don't want to lose the money. And every day you turn around, you see another one of these false prophets raising up with large followings. Have these grand cathedrals that could sit 10,000 people at once. And most of those people are deceived. All right, let's move on. Verse 6, it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And we're seeing that now, wars and rumors of wars. Let's watch this video for a little while and see what we hear.
China, Taiwan, North Korea, Japan, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, the United States, the United Kingdom, Sweden, among other nations, are all posturing for war or they're at war. And it's escalating, my friends. What's going on? Well, Jesus said in the last days there's going to be a time of wars and rumors of wars. Now, there's always been wars and rumors of wars. But in the Olivet Discourse in Matthew chapter 24, he's talking about an escalation and frequency of these things. He said that there's going to be, for example, earthquakes and volcanoes while all these other things are taking place. There's going to be a coalescing of end-time events.
Now to the Pentagon, where senior U.S. officials tell NBC News the Biden administration is increasingly concerned about the alliance between Russia and North Korea as the U.S. braces for potentially intensifying military actions from the countries ahead of the November election.
Katie, is a new world order taking shape?
So, yeah, I think the Chinese are setting up the new global world order. It's going to rest on China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, whatever they can pick up in the BRICS and the global south. And then they'll reset the rules of the international rules-based order.
What has brought them together, quite frankly, it is what you're suggesting is a new world order.
Y'all listening?
Russia has now officially called the United States an enemy nation. This came from the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov. Let me read out the translation of what he said. And we are an enemy country for them, much like they are for us. Again, that was the Kremlin spokesperson, and this is the first.
Russia is one of the nations that takes precedence in end-time prophecy. And what did they say? We are an enemy country for them, talking about America, much like they are for us. This is this year, June the 4th. This statement was made. Okay? Okay, let's go. A little bit more.
First time he said enemy, because it's not something to be said lightly. Barely 3 months ago, he said that the US was not the enemy, that Russia did not have any anti-American sentiments. But that has changed now. Why? Perhaps because of last week's escalation. Last week, the United States gave Ukraine a green light to strike Russian territory using American weapons.
Did you hear that? This is June the 3rd of this year. America gave Ukraine weapons and gave them the green light to strike targets inside of Russia. Okay.
Ukraine has already begun doing so. They're using American weapons to strike inside Russia, and Russia is furious. Putin says Ukraine is striking Russian territory with the help of Western specialists.
While the fighting intensifies along Ukraine's eastern front, Russian President Vladimir Putin is issuing another ominous warning to the West. This time, it's over American-made missiles being used to strike targets inside Russia. Those strikes are now reportedly underway, prompting Putin to threaten to supply Russian allies with weapons to strike Western targets. He also
and some of those allies are going to be right here in the West, because Russia has allies right over here in the West, Cuba being one, and certain countries in South America as well. So there's a great escalation of events. These things have always happened, but we can see an escalation of events. And the most important part is it is the nations that the Bible says it would happen with. You go to the books of Ezekiel chapter 38, 39, etc. It's happening just like the Bible said it would happen. Wars and rumors of wars, right? Just like Yahweh Shah said it would happen. These things are here, not coming, they're here already. Let's move on. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. We're going to start from verse number 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy," which is what we do. That's why we hit the highways and the byways. "Which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written on paper," which is why we have them preserved for us today, for future generations to be able to understand, which we are those future generations that was supposed to receive these prophecies to understand where we are, to be able to measure the times, as it says in 2nd Ezra chapter 9. Verse 2 again, "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Verse number 3, it says, "Fear not the imaginations against thee," because these people that run this world see this truth proliferating, and they are imagining things that they want to do, especially to the ones of us that are awake. Right? Revelation chapter 12, verse, I believe it's verse 14, says the dragon is going to make war with the remnant of her seed that keep the commandments. That's us. They're imagining making war with those of us that keep the commandments. The same way that Rome made war against the Israelites that were keeping the commandments in the first century. That's why all the apostles were killed and John was banished to the island of Patmos, which in essence is a prison. They imagine doing those same things in this revived Roman Empire that we live in now. Just a matter of time. "Fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee." That's not a regular word, so we had to look that up. Incredulity means disbelief. So we're going to replace incredulity with disbelief. It says, "Let not the disbelief of them trouble thee, that speak against thee. That disbelief is, of course, the other nations that's always talking against us. But brothers and sisters, it's also our own people. And sometimes people that are very close to us, like family members and spouses. You cannot allow somebody's disbelief trouble you. Even though in many cases they speak against you, you cannot allow that to affect you. Verse 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. That's happening now, and it's going to escalate. The sword, famine, death, and destruction. But I want to come back to this word incredulity. What's going to happen to the people that are disbelievers or unbelieving? Well, it's the book of Revelation, chapter 21. It says in verse 8, it says, but the fearful and unbelieving, the people that are incredulous, they don't believe. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. That's their judgment. So come back to 2 Ezra chapter 15. It says, fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the unbelieving of them trouble you that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. How are they going to die? They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. That's their judgment. And yes, it's going to be some people that we love too. That's why this truth is sweet in the mouth, but bitter in the stomach. The reality is there's going to be people that we all love that's going to share this fate. That's why this truth is not for everybody. Because some people can't get with that. Like, damn, for real? Yeah, for real. For real. Jumping down to verse number 14, and I see that I cut off some of the, we build it while we fly. I cut off, oh, here it is. I messed this thing up a little bit when I was making it. There it is. That looks a little better, right? Okay, here we go. We're going to jump down to verse number 14 of 2 Ezra 15th chapter. It says, woe to the world and to them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. How do we know it draws nigh? Because of the signs that we're seeing in the world, which we're going to look at some more signs. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition amongst men. That's also not a regular everyday word, sedition. What is that? So we looked that word up. It means incitement of or resistance to insurrection against lawful authority. So there's going to be people rising up against quote unquote lawful authority. To give that a better word, to frame that a little better, there's going to be people that's going to rise up against their governments. That's what you guys are going to see. That is a sign of the end. And that's happening right now. I'm about to show you guys. For there shall be seditions amongst men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings or their princes. They're not going to care what the government says. We don't care what you guys are saying. We don't like your policies. We don't care what you say. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because these seditions are going to escalate to the point where in some places they're going to institute martial law, curfews and all that stuff. You're going to be stuck inside your house because of all these uprisings. Brothers and sisters, this same thing happened in Rome. There's something called the Jewish-Roman Wars. Our people were constantly rebelling against Rome, constantly. Not just our people, but other nations too. This is the revived Roman Empire. So there's going to be seditions against this government too. It's already happening, but it's going to escalate And not just this government, but a lot of the European government nations as well, as I'm about to show you guys. So, one of the hot button issues that's going to cause these seditions or insurrections against lawful governments, I say that in quotations, is the topic of immigration. Now, everybody knows what's happening here in America, but if you're watching CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, Fox, you're not getting stories like this. The same things that's going on with immigration here is also going on in Europe as well. Pay attention. This is Matthew 24, verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, nationality against nationality, aka race wars and racial unrest. That's happening all over the world, not just here. That's how we know it's a sign of the end. It's happening everywhere. Look, this is in Ireland, guys. Look. This is what sedition looks like. They're standing on the steps of the Capitol, protesting immigration. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Look, police have to pepper spray protesters and arrest protesters after locals burned equipment used to construct new migrant housing. Same migrant problems that we're having here is the same migrant problems they're having in Ireland, and they're revolting just like it's happening here. These are the seditions and the signs. This is the nation against nation. These are the signs that we're looking for. Let's go.
Breaking Ireland. Police pepper spray protesters and make arrests in Coolock, Ireland, after locals burned equipment being used to construct new migrant housing. The Irish have taken arguably the most aggressive stance against migration in all of Europe. Meanwhile, keep updated.
Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Now we have the same problem in England. Same problem.
Moving on, an estimated 10,000 protesters took to the streets of Dublin today.
Well, this is one is still in Ireland.
Against government policy on a...
So I messed that up, right? I messed it up. So I'm gonna fix it. Yeah, I'm gonna fix it right in front of y'all. I'm gonna fix it. I thought this England is coming up. I already gave it away. England is coming up. But let's go.
Moving on, an estimated 10,000 protesters took to the streets of Dublin today in a national protest against government policy on asylum seekers. And now in contrast to a previous march in Dublin, which saw a bus set fire to, and despite a heavy police presence on the streets today, there was no trouble at the protest today.
So you guys get the idea. No need to prolong it. Let's move to the next one. Let's go.
What is happening here inside the United Kingdom with the migrant crisis?
The migrant crisis, we're losing our culture, losing our identity, we're being replaced.
Did you guys hear that? I know that was fast, right? So real quick, let's do England, put it right here. But I want you guys to pay attention to what he said. These are the same talking points that are being spoken about right here. Literally the same talking points. These are the signs that the Bible said we're supposed to be paying attention to. How many of you guys were seeing this on your local news? You don't see it. You don't see it. You don't hear about it. You don't see it. National news stations. You don't hear about it. You don't see it. But these things are happening all over the world. These are the signs that we're supposed to be looking for. That's why so many people don't watch the conventional news stations anymore, because you're not going to get this news from there. You need to be looking for this on your TikTok, on your Instagram, so forth and so on your YouTube, so your algorithm spits this stuff out to you and you can keep track of what's going on in the rest of the world and not live in the bubble that we call America, because America's a bubble. Listen.
Hey, Priest, before you play that, yeah, you know what? We should rejoice, man. Good for their ass. Because years ago, that's what they did to our people. Real quick, let me bring this out. Staying in Second Ezra, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get down to it. Second Ezra chapter 15, jump down to verse 21. It says, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Lord power. So everything they, complaining and the word, and complaining, guess what happened? That's what they did to us years ago. Because when they took over that land, who was in that land? That was us in that land. And now they're getting displaced. So everything that happened before, the Most High flipping on their head, man. All praise to the Most High. I'm happy.
And that's what they did to the Native Americans. And watch this. We'll take it on a deeper level, which I'm really only going into this into the academy. It won't be like a Sabbath class. But that's what Esau did to Japhet. We all understand that the original inhabitants of Europe were dark-skinned people that are Japhites, the ones that live in the islands now, the Polynesian islands. Your Hawaiians, your original people that were in New Zealand, the original inhabitants of Australia, all these indigenous populations, they once were the people that actually lived in Europe. These are your original inhabitants of Europe until the time of the Peloponnesian Wars, right? And the so-called white man involved himself in the Peloponnesian Wars and took a side. And then when these nations were weakened, Esau pushed them out and displaced them. Now what's happening to him, and he's crying. Same arguments that are being made here in America, if you guys are listening keenly, is the same arguments that's being made over there as well. This is all playing out, like Elder Zob said, perfectly. And we're just sitting back with our popcorn and watching. This is what we've been looking for.
What is happening here inside the United Kingdom with the migrant crisis?
The migrant crisis, we're losing our culture, losing our identity, we're being replaced. We feel like we're becoming minorities in most major cities. We're being driven out of our own country, driven out of our own towns. So people are uncomfortable with it, but people have been scared into silence from even having these discussions due to the fear of being branded a racist, losing your job, cancel culture. All these things prevent the public from telling the truth. I come from a town that's 30 miles north of London. When I was born in 1982, there was one mosque, there's now 45. Yeah. And 50% of the town is Pakistani Muslim. So I see the difference. I see the problems from hostility, the culture, the aggression, Islamic domination, all these things. So I've spoke about it, but 15 years ago, people didn't want to listen.
And where are the migrants coming from?
Everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So Afghanistan, Somalia, Eritrea, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, they all say now they're Iranian. They all have their one to say so they can try and get in. But when we say migrants, they say asylum seekers. They're not asylum seekers. They've gone through 16 safe countries. They're safe in France. France isn't at war.
And why do they come here to the United Kingdom?
Because they get a free house. They get given priority above us. They get everything.
They get free housing. They get priority above us. They get everything. Isn't that not what people are complaining about over here? Like the migrants are coming here, they're getting.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. They got the same government. They got the same
credit
Democrats.
cards. God damn it! I never stayed in a 5-star hotel ever. Huh? What you said, Zob?
Nah, I was gonna say if the Democrats are in power in England and France too, because they're doing the same thing.
It's the same thing.
So it's global. It's worldwide, man. So all praise to the Most High, man. The Most High put a spirit on the elite and make them think that, you know what? Let's move all the migrants around and we're gonna bring this new world order, not knowing that they doing the bidding of the Most High. Right. You know what I mean? So they bringing about Matthew 24. They bringing about 2nd Ezra 9 and all of that. They bringing everything into fruition. All praises, man.
Because men are just pawns on the Most High's chessboard. So when people see the Most High saying that things are going to happen, they're thinking there's some magic wand going to be waved and these things are going to happen. No, the Most High moves Esau, like Zahab said, to do these things, to bring migrants in, to do all these things, to try to implement his new world order. The Most High is allowing them to do it, to bring forth prophecy. So we have to understand and recognize this stuff playing out right in front of our eyes. But most of us are not aware that these things are going on, again, because our social media algorithms are triggered towards madness and nonsense. That's why. So we think everything is cool. Everything ain't cool on this earth. This earth is in chaos right now. Let's go to the next one.
What is happening?
So now the Muslims are fighting back. The migrants they're fighting back in England. Nation against nation. Nation against nation. Nationality against nationality. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. There go Karen right there. Karen not happy about her country in England. She's not happy, guys.
It's not Britain no more, is it?
No. It's too much of a mixed bag, isn't it?
It is.
A face only a mother could love. I'm sorry. That's folly. My bad. So Lucky, I didn't hear that. Anyway.
It's not Britain no more, is it?
No. It's too much of a mixed bag, isn't it?
It is. I better not go into that.
And we're attracting too many people.
Yes, the wrong
for
kind.
the wrong kind.
Okay. Now, let's talk about what we know. The same thing is happening right here in the United States. Let's start with Chicago. Let's go.
These are the latest asylum seekers to arrive in Chicago after a long journey by bus from Texas.
You guys think it's a coincidence? It's the same argument, the same talking points in the Europe and over here, or is that manufactured? I'll let you guys decide that for yourself. But the Most High is the ultimate chess player because he's moving all the pieces.
The train ride is probably their shortest trip. With temperatures plunging, so are their fortunes, as they arrive only wearing t-shirts and blankets in a city struggling to keep up. Nearly 15,000 are in shelters and 550 currently waiting for a bed. With no place to go, some are sleeping in tents, city buses, and even at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Pastor John Zayas has been on the front line since the first bus arrived in August 2022. He's part of a 17-church citywide unity initiative to find migrants temporary shelter.
The issue is that it's coming so fast.
That's all we need. Let's go to the next one. There's a lot of videos. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Listen.
Well, tempers are flaring in Chicago too, Jason. So let's move there because, as you often said, this migrates all on its own. People are fanning out all over the country. A Chicago City Council meeting that's going on right now, in fact, is all over massive illegal immigrant crisis in that sanctuary city. People who live there as American citizens are furious over the millions of dollars in resources going to the illegals, who so many communities there are in need. They need those resources. The video is going to look a little strange because we just took this. It's going on right now. So with the Zoom, and you'll see the countdown a little bit, but just listen to the words.
That's what's up. That's what has happened in the United States right now. All this asylum seeking lie, all this about refugees. No. What's happening is they're emptying out the dregs of their jails into the United States, into our communities. They're junking up our country. And yeah, we feel some kind of way about it because it's our country. It's our country. We're going to get our city back. We're going to stand for our people. We're going to get them out of our communities because they don't deserve to be there. Not another dollar for the illegal.
Now, I want you guys to pay attention to the caption at the bottom. They're saying vote for Kamala. Well, wasn't she the border czar? She oversaw this. According to what they say, she oversaw this. She's one of the main reasons why this is happening here, because she's also part of the elite as well. Let's go.
Crisis is so bad, the city council members who are so concerned to donate their salaries to the cause like a real public servant should.
And again, it looked a little strange on screen because when we caught that a few moments ago, we had to show that to you. I mean, it gives me chills. They're junking up our country, and it's our country, Jason.
You guys get the idea. Let's go to the next one.
Strong reactions tonight from residents after learning Mayor Brandon Johnson is considering plans to open a new temporary migrant shelter in their Southside neighborhood.
You don't know where to put them? Why would you put them in our neighborhood? Well, why don't we go by your house?
All of that money that he's giving them, we've been begging for years.
We've lived here our whole life. We have a lot of bad things that happen here already. We do not need this. We just do not.
Located just blocks away from Guaranteed Rate Field, the proposed building near Canal and Pershing is in the city's 11th ward.
Look at where it's at. It's hid in the back. Why is that a good location? We have no amenities here as it is.
Alderwoman Nicole Lee issued this letter to constituents yesterday.
That's all we need. Let's go to the next one. What's the next one?
Poverty, we already getting strapped. Why do we always got to be at the bottom of the barrel? I want Mayor Brandon Johnson to understand that you're selling us out for people who can't vote.
That's why the Bible says, "Cursed be the man that trusted a man." Are people trusting these politicians? And this is exactly, you're getting exactly what you get. Now, let's talk about New York. Same thing.
How did New York City's migrant situation go from here?
How long until you run out of resources?
Oh, well, we're not. We have no more room in the city.
In 10 months. Putting aside policy at the U.S.-Mexico border, this has a lot to do with a rule that's unique to New York.
Our right to shelter laws.
Those laws say that New York City has to house anyone who asks for it. That was around 61,000 homeless residents in 2021, but 90,000 migrants have come to New York City since last spring. Many of them sent on buses like this from Texas and other states. More than half of those migrants are still in New York's care, meaning a record 100,000 people are in shelters. So the city's had to get creative.
More schools in the city prepared to house asylum seekers.
Up to 50 houses of
So, well, I'm gonna tell you guys, these migrants are sleeping in churches, buses in New York City. In some places, these migrants are sleeping in police stations. That's right. Police stations are actually housing these people as well. So it's the same thing that's happening here, that's happening in Europe. And all this stuff is doing is fanning out towards a time when there's going to start being literal clashes and seditions and fighting and everything. Right now, people are arguing with the government. They're rebelling against the government, but this thing is going to turn violent eventually. Tempers are going to flare, and they're going to overflow, and people are going to get violent. All these things are prophesied. All these things are prophesied. Go ahead.
Salakia, you see that still frame you have on the screen right now?
Yeah.
That's perfect. And what you said prior was also perfect. People vote for these idiots right here, thinking that they got power. They ain't got no power. Because the same thing is going on throughout the country, from all the quote unquote blue states and so on and so forth, blue cities and whatnot. It's the same thing. So if the blue cities are run by your so-called black politician, nobody's pushing back. You know why? Because they can't. They get their marching orders from Esau. So-called white man tells them what to do. And if they go against it, that's their you know what. They done off. So it just proves that, look, man, they're just puppets in high places. And one last thing I want to bring out. I believe it was last week we was at camp, right? Look how beautiful the Most High is, right? We was at camp in Queens, I believe. We had Elder Karab, we had Captain Bunn, we had Sergeant Kanai, Palaya. We was out at camp in Queens, and brothers was teaching, and brothers was teaching this lady, and we asked her where she from. She said Venezuela. And then we started teaching to her. And then we stopped, somebody else stopped, and we started teaching them. And we asked them, and they said Venezuela too. So the point I'm trying to make is this. A lot of people, not all of them, right? But some of the people coming through, they're Israelites. And they're coming here to learn who they are in these final days. So don't listen to a lot of the hype saying, oh, they terrorists and they coming from jails. Yes, you do have some bad apples in there. Now, I'm not pro-immigration, but what I am saying is this. Some of the people coming across the border possibly are Israelites, and they come in here for this reason, so they can run into a camp, whether it be Lines of Israel or any other camp, and learn who they are. So we fishing. So all praises to the Most High, man. The Most High is a master strategist, and he's a grand chess champion. He's moving pieces on the board. We don't even see it in all different angles. I just wanted to bring that up, Priest.
Remember years ago, we used to say that there's two reasons why immigrants come to this country. Ultimately, forget about every other reason. Most High brings them here to learn the truth of who they are or to be destroyed. It's one of the two. One of the two. All right. Now, the next part says kingdom against kingdom. So I want you guys to look at the screen, right? Fun fact right now, as we look at those countries on the right-hand side, I ain't got to play the video. All these countries on the right-hand side are at war in one way or another right now that's taking place on the earth. When is your news stations telling you that? And a lot of these wars, if you really look at the screen, are either insurgencies or civil wars, which is seditions, like the Bible says. People rebelling against quote-unquote lawful governments, which a lot of these governments are puppets. And people are rebelling against them. So all this lines up with Bible prophecy. This is as of right now. Not last week. This video is as of right now. the wars that's taking place as we speak. And these are others right now as we speak. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Let's watch this video.
We're watching the Middle East as the White House says Iran and its proxies could launch a significant set of attacks inside Israel anytime this week, which is why.
So we just saw how different nationalities would rise up against each other, which is being manufactured by flooding different countries with migrants and all types of other stuff, which is going to stir and fan the flames of one nationality against another nationality, quote unquote, race wars. And there's other angles I could have taken as well, but just for the sake of brevity, that was one. Now we're going to move on to kingdom against kingdom. Like some of the major players in end time prophecies are posturing and positioning themselves. And two of those nations are Israel, Iran, Russia's another, et cetera, et cetera. It's all lining up.
Watching the Middle East as the White House says Iran and its proxies could launch a significant set of attacks inside Israel anytime this week, which is why the U.S. is now rushing additional troops and equipment into that region, including this guided missile submarine and a strike group of F-35Ss.
I want you guys to understand something real quick, and I'm gonna go back just a little bit because it's not a long video. This is one of the ways, if you are a student of history, this is one of the ways major empires fall. One of the main reasons why the British Empire fell was because it spread itself too thin. It was fighting different wars on different fronts all at the same time, and the ancient Roman Empire had the same problem. America's having the same problem. Did we not just see video earlier where America is supplying Ukraine with weapons to hit targets inside Russia? That's one war on one front, but now America's also supplying Israel weapons as well, fighting another war on another front. It's spreading itself too thin. That's the problem. And we've seen this throughout history. So all of this, as Elder Zahab said, is the Most High moving the pieces on a chessboard and making them destroy themselves, weakening them up. And when Yahweh Shah come, you're going to finish them off. All praises. Let's go.
The White House says Iran and its proxies could launch a significant set of attacks inside Israel anytime this week, which is why the U.S. is now rushing additional troops and equipment into that region, including this guided missile submarine and a strike group of F-35Ss aboard the USS Lincoln. The world has been bracing for Iran's response to the recent assassinations of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders, including one attack inside Iran. President Biden, meanwhile, spoke to European leaders by phone today, calling for a de-escalation and pushing once again for a ceasefire. For watching.
All right. And the next portion says, and there shall be famines, shortages of food. I'm going to skip that one for now for the sake of brevity. And we're going to get to these pestilences. And there shall be pestilences. What is pestilences? Let's look that word up. It says a contagious or infectious epidemic diseases like C-19. Infectious epidemic disease that is virulent and devastating. The Bible says this is another sign. Now, pestilence, another synonym for that would be pandemics. So we already know the pandemic that we went through in 2021, 22, et cetera, et cetera. We already know. Well, here are these wonderful folks that we know as Bill Gates, right? Looks a little harmless, like the guy you would, snatch his money out of his pockets in school, right? That's the type of guy he looks like. This guy is the devil, man. So these guys are actually talking about another pandemic. They're kind of letting you know what they plan on doing. Let's watch a little bit of this, not the whole thing.
Come, and I think it's up to us as citizens to rebuild the world that we want.
And by the way, it is their idea that through these pandemics and through these wars and different things that they're manufacturing, they're going to build the world the way they want to build the world. That's their idea. That's why the Bible says in Psalms 2, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? It's a vain thing to think that Esau is going to build the world the way he wants to, because the Most High said Esau is going to be destroyed.
Come, and I think it's up to us as citizens to rebuild the world that we want. I think this crisis has exposed some of the gaps around the world, but particularly in the United States. And one of those in particular are the gender and the racial inequities that exist In terms of gender, you know, we know that women do 2.5 times more work at home than men do. And that's the unpaid labor of caring for the kids, making the lunch, making sure they're online learning right now. And so, you know, it will expose for us that it is just way past time that the U.S. has a paid family medical leave policy. We're the only industrialized nation that doesn't. And if we want to put people back to work safely and keep their families safe from getting sick, we need to have paid family medical leave. And so I think Congress, in its wisdom, in 2 of the stimulus bills started to address that. We need a long-term solution. The other thing I would say is not only has COVID exposed the gaps in the system, it's also showed us opportunities. Like the fact that...
So you guys can understand, this is cryptic talk. Opportunities, meaning the second time, I'm going to translate for you guys because for the sake of time, and I should have probably used one of the shorter videos where they actually go into it. But anyway, what they're saying is that the opportunities is the next time that there's another pestilence or pandemic, they learn things from COVID that they're going to implement that's going to be more draconian. It's going to be worse on the people to force you into certain things. They're going to force you. So they learn some things. It sounds really nice and sweet and warm because it's coming from a white female. So it sounds, but it's not. It's cryptic talk. I really don't want to spend too much time on this video right now because time is winding down. Let's move on to the next one, right? So the Bible says there'll be pestilences, right? How many of you guys are familiar with something called dengue? Have you guys heard of dengue? Have you heard of dengue? Well, dengue is running rampant right now, and no, your news stations are not telling you that, but pay attention.
This is a public service announcement. Please share this information widely. The map behind me shows the number of cases of dengue virus infections in the United States since the beginning of 2000.
How many of you guys know about dengue? You didn't. You didn't. Some of you may have, but most people didn't.
This is a public service announcement. Please share this information widely. The map behind me shows the number of cases of dengue virus infections in the United States since the beginning of 2024. It is the most number of cases in the United States on record and 5 times the number of cases now compared to last year at the same time. It's likely due to the fact that temperatures have been rising, which has allowed mosquitoes that carry the virus to spread across the country.
You know, our main camp is located in New York and Connecticut. No, is it? Oh yeah, New York, and I thought that was Connecticut, but that's actually probably Massachusetts. But if you guys look at the color coordinating of the map, the blue is where it's the worst. So the 2 places that you're finding the most cases is New York and Florida, and I believe this other state right next to New York is Massachusetts. All right, so this is spreading right now. Another pandemic, another virus. This may not be that second great pandemic, but there's a lot. The Bible says these things will happen in succession, and they don't talk about these things.
About 1 in 4 individuals infected with dengue virus develop symptoms, and it can be wide-ranging. You can have mild, non-specific symptoms such as fever, nausea, vomiting, rash, joint pain, and muscle pain. Or in about 1 in 20 individuals, it could be much more severe, leading to bleeding disorders.
So you guys got it, dengue, right? You guys heard that? Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. You guys have definitely been hearing about monkeypox. I would hope. Listen.
Today, the emergency committee met and advised me that, in its view, the situation constitutes a public health emergency of international concern.
That's how C-19 started. A public health emergency of international concern. That's how C-19 started, right? Listen.
I have accepted that advice. The detection and rapid spread of a new clade of mpox in eastern DRC, its detection in neighboring countries that had not previously reported mpox, and the potential for further spread within Africa and beyond is very worrying. In addition to other outbreaks of other clades of mpox in other parts of Africa, it's clear that a coordinated international response is essential to stop these outbreaks and save lives. WHO is on the ground, working with the affected countries and others at risk through our country and regional offices, as well as with partners including the Africa CDC, NGOs, civil society, and more.
So monkeypox is another possibility of the possible next pandemic as well. It could be dengue, it could be monkeypox. We don't know, but the Bible says there will be pestilences, meaning more than one. More than one. Now, we saw that was in Africa, right? But what I'm going to tell you guys, that's also taking place here in the Americas as well. All right. Now, let's look at Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, real quick. It says, "For he hath given me certain knowledge of things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of elements, the beginning, ending, and midst of times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, the changes of the seasons, the circuits of years, and the positions of the stars, the nature of living creatures," I want to focus on that, "and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of the winds, the reasonings of men, and the diversities of plants, and virtues of roots." So I want to deal with the natures of living creatures and the diversities of plants and the virtue of roots. I'm going to teach you guys something. One of the ways that these pandemics actually happen and are able to proliferate and spread is because you have two different types of species of animals, bugs, insects in the world. You have insects that are what you call beneficial insects, beneficial predators. Esau kills those things off. Kills them off. With their technology, their Monsanto that they do, the way that they fertilize and grass and plants and so forth and so on that they use, they kill off a lot of beneficial insects. And then you have the insects that are destructive. These bugs are resistant to a lot of technologies that Esau has when he's fertilizing plants. They're resistant to it. So they proliferate, they reproduce in great numbers. And these destructive insects, number one, they destroy plants and crops, which is part of what's going to lead to the famine. Not the only thing, but part of it. And also, a lot of these destructive insects also carry diseases. And these predators that they kill off usually control the population of the destructive insects, because a lot of these predators, they for lack of a better word, they eat the destructive ones. You guys understand what I'm showing y'all? See, it's very basic what the Bible says. There's going to be pestilences, but this thing goes deep. You have a proliferation of insects that are harmful to plants and crops that also carry diseases. And these are the ones that are proliferating and are resistant to Esau's technology. You guys get it? That's going to bring about a lot of what we talk about in the Bible. That's why you see a lot of what we talk about now in the Bible. A lot of this stuff is being proliferated by insects. Esau don't understand that, because the Most High created the ecosystem in perfect balance, and Esau has destroyed it. When you look deeply into Leviticus chapter 11, some of those animals that the Most High told us not to eat was to keep the ecosystem in balance. That was part of the reason. Every animal that we were instructed not to eat was not always abominable like the pig in terms of how nasty and disgusting the pig is. Like they eat garbage and all that stuff like that, right? Has no pores to sweat. So we know the pig is a real disgusting thing. Same thing with lobster, shrimp, and crab. But some of the animals that we're told not to eat, not so much like a pig. But in the Most High's infinite wisdom, the Most High told us not to eat those things to keep the ecosystem balanced, because some of these animals are there for a reason. Some of them are predators. Some of them keep certain harmful things away by what they eat, so forth and so on. So the Most High understood that and told us, don't eat it. The white man being the devil and rejecting God's law, saying God's laws is done away with, so you can eat whatever. And you wind up throwing the ecosystem off. The same is true with insects. Let's read that. If all mankind were to disappear, the world would regenerate back to the rich state of equilibrium that existed 10,000 years ago. If insects were to vanish, the environment would collapse into chaos. Why? Because you have insects that are beneficial. These are not the only beneficial insects. Of course, we know bees as well and other things as well, but this is just some. So insects play a major role, and Esau has destroyed a lot of that.
Is there volume on that, priest?
Extraordinary event that many researchers are warning about that's quickly deteriorating and is showing no sign of getting better anytime soon. If things don't change course in the next few years, the first to become scarce will be the insects, and next will be your food. Now, before you discount the demise of insects, you need to understand how critical their role is in your daily life. Maybe you've already noticed fewer bees, fireflies, or bugs on your windshield, and there's a reason for that. And in this video, I will tell you why it's in your best interest to pay attention to the signs that insects are showing us. I'll also tell you precisely what food sources will be most heavily impacted by this issue over the next few years. And
there's your famines. Everybody pay attention. There's your famines. By affecting the insects, it's going to affect your crops and everything, your food sources. And Esau is behind all of this. Understand that. I got to stop it right here because it's almost 12 o'clock, and I know the God First Gang is about to go. Zahab, you going to say something? You can, you come in real quick if you want to say something.
No, it was the volume. Go ahead, priest. I know our time is short.
Yeah. See, I'll play like another minute or so real quick, and then we're gonna bookend this for now.
Importantly, what, if anything, you can even do. And before we jump in, I want to point out up front that this video, it relies heavily upon detailed research that is accessible to the public that is documenting this dilemma. I'll post links in the description section if you'd like to dig in further. We tried to break the information down in such a way that we didn't go too deep into the weeds, but instead we tried to focus on the big picture to give you a full understanding of what's playing out in your world right now so you can prepare accordingly. The situation. The global insect population is declining at an unprecedented rate, estimated to be as high as 2% per year. Amid deforestation, pesticide and chemical use, pollution, artificial light pollution, and extreme shifts in weather patterns, insects are struggling. Now, the repercussions are devastating, wreaking havoc on crops, untamed flora, and the intricate web of creatures in our ecosystem that depend on insects as their sustenance.
Most people don't, and I'm going to end it right there, most people don't think about that. They don't think into deep as how can a famine happen? A famine can happen that way. By affecting the very ecosystem that keeps everything in balance. When you affect that, you can manufacture a famine. And that's what's happening. So the signs are there. That's why I told you guys, it's not winter is coming. Winter's already here. Unfortunately, I still haven't had a lot to go. But time is upon me. As I said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now. I want you guys to let me know in the chat if this lesson was good, if it made sense. You guys can put 1 in the chat. Let me know everything was good, made sense. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. I was kind of speeding a little bit, but it's like that. Oh, but you know what? Shout out to, I just saw the comments. Where it was. Shout out to Sister Pora. There's a scripture on that. Let me get that real quick while you guys are putting that in the chat real quick. And I'm gonna end it with this. Right. So Sister Pora said that they destroyed the earth and think they're going to the moon. They have destroyed the earth, but look at what the Bible says real quick. Look what the Bible says. The judgment for destroying the earth is going to be. Look what the scriptures say real quick. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 18, right? Where's the KJV? Let me just do it that way. Revelation 11:18. I can do it right here. Let me stop sharing my screen for 1 second, y'all. Let me pull it up.
While you're getting that, priest, next week, I think it'll be the Lord will. You need to do a part 2, man. Follow up on this next week.
Kind of the one. I was actually going to go into Revelation 18, but I think these things tie together too. So, yeah, kind of all praises. So this is Revelation chapter 11, verse 18. It says, "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and thou shouldest give us reward unto thy servants the prophets and to the saints and them that fear thy name, small and great. So those that fear the Most High's name and serve the Most High in spirit and in truth, we're going to be rewarded, right? But here's the part we want. And should destroy them which destroyed the earth. And we just showed you that Esau is destroying the earth by destroying the ecosystem. That's what he's doing. So the Most High, there's a judgment for that. The Most High is going to destroy them for destroying his beautiful earth that he created and said it was good. All right. So, again, I want to give all praise. So, like, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God. I pray that the lesson was good and you guys were able to follow along. And as the elder said, I'll definitely pick up on where I left off this week and segue, if it be the Lord's will, right into Revelation chapter 18 as well. All right. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, if you are watching this video and you are not subscribed to our channel, that's wicked. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys hit the like button and show some love. All right. I really do appreciate. One second. I'm sorry. I got caught up with it. I really do appreciate it. I do want to say one thing real quick before we go. And Zahab, you can say something as well if you want to. I want to thank everybody that came out to the boat ride and to the cookout. It was successful. It was great. I really enjoyed seeing my brothers and sisters. We had a great time in the spirit, and we definitely will be probably doing more events in the future if it be the Most High's will. But again, thank everybody. And also thanks to everybody that's been donating as well. You guys know who you are that's been donating to the camp. We really appreciate it. It definitely helps us in our endeavors to do certain things. So thank y'all as well. Elder Zahab, you have anything before I go?
Yeah, real quick. Like you said, the water for the people came out. Our brothers and sisters, start checking on our website, thelionsofisrael.com. In the future, we're gonna have a mailing list, and we're gonna have a newsletter so you can stay up to date on what's going on with us, what's going on with prophecy, so on and so forth. And you can stay in tune when we have events and so on and so forth. So just plug into our website. If you don't see it today, just keep checking in. We're going to have updates to the website. All right. All praises to the Most High in the name of Mashiach Yahushua, the water.
One last thing too, guys. I know I've been getting, messages via the email about the Next Academy. So what I have on my screen is the major, if you want to do the Next Academy, number one, we're looking for people that actually want to join the body. And we're also looking to put priority on the 10 states that I have on my screen. Those states take priority. I don't really want to bring people into the academy if you're the only person from our camp in your state. We were doing that for a while, but I want everybody to have somebody else in your state that you can fellowship with as well. That's very, very important. So if you're not on one of the states that's listed, you can definitely, send in the email saying you want to join the academy, but there has to be a couple of other people that send me requests as well from your state in order for us to say yes. All right. So that's just very, very important, right? We have a responsibility to make sure that our brothers and sisters in these different states have others to fellowship with. So we're trying to focus on that a little bit more. All right. So that's pretty much it for me, man. What am I doing? Am I? Okay. I'm tripping. All right. So that's it, brothers and sisters. Once again, I appreciate everybody that's here or watching. We'll be back again next week if it be the Most High's will for another Sabbath lesson. We give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. And we do so in the name of his only begotten son, Yahweh Shah, your brother, priest Daniela, representing Lions of Israel, represent Maccabees TV. And I'll see you guys next week. All right, shalom.
From 100. Yeah. God had his hand on me since before the womb. I didn't know what that meant until I read the Bible. Amen. I didn't know what that meant until I read the Bible. He had his hand on me since before the womb. You think I started in the womb? He had his hand on me since before the womb. Like, oh, this is going to do this. He's going to make this happen. He's going to touch this person. He's going to touch these people. He's going to... Yo, I am God's child. I am God's child. I am God's child. Yeah! The gyms are closed. I gotta get this aggression out. Let's go.
myself as cold with a conscience. Can't roll with the nonsense. Don't mistake the cover of a book for its contents. I might show you kindness, swim with the piranhas. Things that we forget and to come back and remind us. Like we all have a past we want to put behind us. Designed to be good, but evil always seems to find us. A man can only change the things he acknowledges. Plus this beat is flame with skills over politics. Won't be the same. What really has me stressing out? The gyms are closed. I can't get this aggression out. Before we get the promises, there must be offenses. The Bill Gates of hell won't prevail against us. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. Say my prayers. Thank God for blessing me. My life's an open book. Could that be why they're testing me? Maybe everything I do is done out of necessity. Stock is on the rise. I think you should invest in me. It's not strange. I'm money like blockchains. Except the things in life that I cannot change. Chant down Babylon. Payback is coming. I ain't LeBron James. You thought I came back for nothing? The game is canceled in the blink of an eyelash. Flow is sick. Grab your N95 mask. The new normal, it gets even scarier. All black and white, there is no gray area. Plain as day, we got the whole package, baby. Competition, their rhymes are all average. And that's my 16, nothing else to say, y'all. 5G raps, find me under the radar. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. Bounce. The gyms are closed. I gotta get this aggression out. Let's go. I'm from the city, they say never sleep. People you can never please. Words of blue checks that Twitter gives celebrities. Sometimes it's commercial, sometimes herbal remedies. Guaranteed to be 100 like centipedes. I claim my innocence, although innocence. I ain't perfect, I'm trying to cleanse my innocence. Not alone, I'm assisted by some instruments. And when I'm done, I'm on to doing bigger things. No holes barred, take no prisoners. Aim for the sky, potential is limitless. Before we get the promises, there must be a fence. The Bill Gates of hell won't prevail against us. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really